welcome to the Ramble on.
Let's ramble.
Let's talk about this. So, as I have said multiple times in our American recut of this is a movie of two halves. Let me get into that.
Yep. Oh, and also, spoilers.
Yes, spoilers. Always spoilers. Alright, but... So, the first half of this movie has a major problem with character motivation. That is, far and away, the worst problem with the first half of this movie. You have Danny Torrance, who basically is wandering about without any particular purpose for a very long time in this movie. Like, the first hour of the movie is mostly him just moving to a new place, going to AA, getting cleaned up, not even approaching the plot.
No, not even remotely. I mean, no, they paint him in such a downtrodden way that I really don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's so disturbing and so unprecedented for a child protagonist, I think.
I mean, he was probably traumatized after what he went through. It kind of makes sense in that sense.
Oh, sure, but so what I kind of resent most about the first half of the movie is Danny leaving a woman he slept with, along with her child, who clearly can't fend for itself.
He's kind of a scumbag, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's such a scummy move.
He's a scumbag for those few seconds.
He is, but I can't forgive him for that. But I mean, that's just one of my hang-ups on that one.
I guess she died based on a flashback he has.
Yeah, he slept with her and left.
He sees the shining of them, like they died, or maybe it's just his hallucinations. Yeah.
Speaking of hallucinations, so the movie tries to pick up where the previous film left off by focusing on,
They did do a good job of either de-aging or getting an actress that looked extremely similar to Miss Torrance.
Yeah, they did a good job on that. That was very good.
Same thing with the child actor who looked like Danny.
Very much so.
They did a good job getting those people. She didn't sound like her, but she did look like her.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's impressive how they did that, but I don't think that they were terribly great actors or even really necessary for the movie. Like, I think the first half of the movie is super bloated. There's a lot of stuff you could have just said, maybe don't include this for a movie.
I agree, no, and the pacing was a little bizarre. I mean, the first half they introduce the characters and don't touch up on the plot at all.
Alright, so my theory for this movie is, you might have noticed with the opening that they do only one producer screen, and it was just the Warner Brothers logo. There was nothing else. You noticed that, right?
No, I didn't. That's kind of alarming. What?
Like it was so weird to me that it was just this kind of very stereotypical Warner Brothers card. No special effects, no special CG introduction, nothing.
That was it? That was just what?
Which that makes me think if the studio thought this would flop. They didn't throw any money at this. They didn't bring in other production studios. They didn't do anything. They just kind of let this guy have his movie and didn't touch it. Which is why the script is so bloated, why there's probably not much oversight on the script, and why this feels like it's paced like a book.
Yeah.
Because it's overlong in some places, and it focuses on character monologue, and motivations, like a book would, when for a movie you need to cut a little bit of that.
Yeah, you do. I agree. And also interesting. So I wonder what kind of rallied them to pick up the movie to give it a decent budget or something, or like a little more...
I mean, Stephen King.
I was like, Stephen fucking King. Okay, the guy, can he really be trusted too? I don't know. Never mind.
Look, there's a lot of Stephen King movies coming out. It just came out. They want a piece of that pie. They got pressed to start to sleep. They went for it. I think that, though, this is definitely a movie that... This is a rare thing to say about Marvel movies, but it feels like this was really hands-off by the studio, because there's a lot of stuff where if you had any of the talking heads looking at this movie, they would probably say, whoa, hold on, mister. Like, early on, when Danny's talking to... What's-his-face? The magic black man that taught him how to use shining.
I always forget his name, yeah.
But, when he's talking to him, he cusses 6 times in 3 sentences.
They did take certain liberties.
I think he calls someone a bitch twice, says fuck once, calls someone an asshole, all in this one paragraph of dialogue, which no movie exec in their right mind would be like, yeah, just leave that in.
No, right, no, they definitely took some liberties and pushed some envelopes. Like, they had a gruesome child murder scene.
Well, they have a lot of gruesome child murder in this movie, too.
Yeah.
I think at some point the producer was just like, fuck it, it's Stephen King. Just let this guy make an indie film, do whatever. We'll get people to come in just based on the name.
Right.
It has to be R-rated, though, because nobody trusts PG-13 horror movies anymore.
No, not at all.
I think that's the thought process that went into this one. And I feel like this is a movie where it would have benefited from a little bit of oversight to say, hey, this first half is really dragging. Can you maybe shorten it a bit, cut a few unimportant scenes?
Right.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
And this movie features an 8-year time skip, which is never a good sign for pacing.
No. I mean, I get you have to do like some kind of a recap and where are they now kind of spiel, but
except none of that was really necessary. We could have started after the 8 years. Like Danny Torrance is working as a nurse's assistant in an old folks' home. He helps people die using The Shining.
Right. I kind of liked that concept, but I mean,
Abra's grown up. She's been talking with him over some time. Like you could have done all of this setup in like 10 minutes before that instead of the 45 they take.
No, right. There is a lot you could have shaved off. I agree. It's just, no, that whole 8-year time skip was just so unnecessary. You could have just, like...
He's going to AA because his father was an alcoholic. It's a nice reference, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But, yeah, there's a lot of bloat that could be shaved off the first half of this movie.
But then the second half...
The second half really starts to pick up, and I think for me it was around the time that Mrs. Hat, or whatever her actual name is, I don't remember, but it's around the time that she does her astral projection thing and goes into Abra's room.
Yes.
That's where suddenly we get a bunch of budget for effects. That's where we get some really cool sets that reflect how their minds look. That's where we get... a lot more interesting CG stuff, some kind of gruesome torture being done by this little girl to the older woman.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that starts coming into the movie around that point.
No, mesmerizing effects and scenes and, interesting concepts. I like how they expanded upon the concept of The Shining. They introduced different powers, they introduced different magnitudes of that power. It's interesting to me.
Yes and no, because I still have no idea what the hell The Shining actually is, or if there's any limits on it.
I think the girl kind of both her and Danny kind of show there is no real limit to that power somehow. I don't know.
Except some people are less psychically strong or something, except Danny's ultra mega super duper strong, except when he's being persuaded, but it's very strange. It's fine though, we don't need to know the exact rules of it, we just needed some cool set pieces, which is what we get in the second half.
We do, yeah.
And I feel like there's going to be a temptation if people listen to this of saying well, you just hate slow-paced movies, you just want the action, you don't want dialogue. No, I usually like dialogue-heavy movies. The first half just has problems with character motivation and every character being kind of aimless and wandering.
Right, and it just jumps around a lot in the first half. There's so many jumps between one character to another. It's just kind of annoying.
The big inciting incident, which is when Abra kind of spies on this group and catches them committing a murder.
Yeah.
That happens an hour in.
Yeah.
It's so weird that they have just this hour of just screwing around, setting up nothing.
No, this is a 2.5 hour film, and the real movie doesn't. The real premise does not start until an hour in, or.
It's a good movie after that.
Oh yeah. Like we said, it starts getting momentum.
Once we finally get the characters moving.
Right.
Yeah, but until then, yeah. The second half of this movie, I love quite a bit of things in the second half of this movie. It's got some cool themes it plays with. It's got some cool set pieces. It's got interesting interplay with kind of setting up and paying off misdirections for the audience.
Sure.
This is one of the few films where we are not only we're shown the setup and there's still satisfying twists within that setup. When he's talking about, you have to keep on projecting, you have to keep on focusing. You don't exactly know what she's doing until you realize, she wasn't trying to track them. She was trying to project something of herself that they could track to this ambush.
Right. No, that was very clever. There was
a lot of cool stuff like that. I think the second half of this movie is excellent. I loved all the stuff that takes place at the Shining Manor. What do you call it?
Yeah, let's call it the Shining Manor because I don't actually know the name of the set.
I love that it was expanded to be not just like a spooky hotel where this guy went crazy, but actually a place that preys upon these psychic powers and manifests ghosts based on them.
Yes, I love that they expanded upon the mansion and what it is.
I like the payoff of those boxes finally getting unlocked. That was a really fun scene.
It was. No, it kind of plays with the concept of you think you're the big fish in the ocean until you meet a bigger fish.
And these boxes have been teased over and over and over throughout the movie, where you're just dying for this great scene, and then it happens, and it's a great payoff. I love it.
Yeah, that was it. It's so rad.
We kind of get the Torrance family stuff wrapped up finally. They kind of end on this cliffhanger of like, there's more evil things out there to fight, but it's not going to happen. I don't think he made a book for this series after Doctor Sleep.
Maybe Dark Tower, because The Shining was introduced.
Dark Tower could be a part of it, but they've already failed twice with adaptations for that.
They did. No.
Even the characters who really feel like very lacking in the first half become much better in the second half. Like, I feel like there was an original script that was about an hour and a half long that just got like 45 minutes of bloat tacked on.
Yeah. Ewan McGregor's character, I mean, like he does a. They show his character struggling to overcome certain obstacles, i.e., past trauma, alcoholism that he inherited from his dad. And just
and there's a decent payoff for that too in the manner as well, with kind of a callback to Jack Nicholson's scene where he's sitting at the bar.
Yeah,
which I liked quite a bit. That was a good scene.
It was. I liked it too. The Jack Nicholson character was the bartender this time around to Dan's character, and it was fascinating to watch.
Like, basically almost everything after the 8-year time skip is actually pretty watchable and enjoyable. I liked everything where the plot actually is.
Right.
Before the plot exists, it's like very weak in general. I do wish we'd known a little bit more about the Immortals, because it seemed like they had some interesting stuff going on. Like, if all the...
Right.
Let's say, like, we replaced the 45 minutes of just characters not knowing what they're doing with the Immortals living through time.
Yeah.
That would have been really interesting.
Just a little background introduction of the Knot, or I whatever the hell they're called. Like the older guy, Rosie, the top hat character, kind of went on a tangent. Yeah. What?
Rose is the white-haired girl, I think. No, Rose is the top hat girl. Who's the other one?
Who cares?
Fair enough.
I mean, you are right. She does have a significance. I can't quite remember her name at the moment, but no. She
gets properly introduced to the movie too, and that's part of the book pacing. Is like, you would expect this to be in a book where the side characters get an unusual amount of time over a chapter or something. But
right, you are right. I mean, we do kind of get a synopsis of how these people work and how that they're kind of like cannibals, where they find new members, get them to consume the steam or shining of other users by horribly mutilating them and sucking up the weird soul mist that comes out of them.
Yeah, I think that I don't have that much more to talk about with this movie. Do you?
I enjoyed this film more so than the previous film we saw, Terminator Dark Fate. This was a better homage to the previous film, and I would recommend seeing it, even though the first half is slow. It takes time to build up, but it's worth the payoff.
Yeah. Likewise, I would say that if you're looking for what to expect, the first half is extremely slow. It kind of is plotting. It doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't generally matter aside from maybe a payoff or two. But the second half of this movie is excellent. I would say that the biggest flaw with this movie was that it's paced like a book, and it feels like this is a very direct adaptation. Something where it didn't get much editing in general from studio heads, pure director vision, which you have a tendency to indulge a bit if you have that much control over a movie.
Yeah.
So I'd say that if you can get through a first hour that's pretty slow and meandering, it ends up being an excellent film overall, and one of the better films in theaters right now.
I agree. Anywho,
thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next film.